Okay, today is the 2nd of May, 2019, and Spooky Boo in England had a question about a yes-no spread that she did. So I'm going to look at those 3 cards later in the video, but I wanted to begin with an observation or two which will maybe put us in a better position to understand how to do a tarot reading, especially for somebody else. I've got some notes, piece of paper. So, we're all people, right? Unless you happen to be a dog or a cat watching this video, we're all people, and because we're people, we share certain characteristics and we have them in common. So we need to sleep, we need to eat, we get annoyed. Well, I get annoyed, maybe you don't. And that's the point, because even though we're all people and we've got certain characteristics in common, we're not all the same, right? So, what was I going to say next? Oh yeah, Winona Ryder. So let's say we're different. I was wondering how to illustrate this, and think about the people you find attractive. So Angelina Jolie, for instance, is generally acknowledged as being beautiful and attractive. But if I were asked to choose between Angelina Jolie and Winona Ryder, for whatever reason, it would be Winona 100% of the time. So we've got, and the thing is, we've got different tastes and preferences, and we've got what works for us and what doesn't work for us. And so remember, this is the people who come to see you, or the people you do readings for. We're all people, but we're different as well. We may have some things in common, but we're not the same. So let's say you take 20 people who are afraid, they're fearful about something, and you put them all in a room, and you give them a solution for how to be less fearful. Maybe it'll work for 8 out of the 20, but probably the one solution is not going to work for everybody. And this is the reason this is partly why, I think it was yesterday, I mentioned about educating yourself. So what you can do, for instance, is go onto YouTube and look at 15, 20 videos and type in fearfulness or how to overcome fearfulness. And you're going to get a variety of different people who tell you what fearfulness is and how to overcome it and how to deal with it and how to handle it. And they're not all going to be the same. It's the same with if you look at how to stop procrastinating, or how to get organized, or how to, whatever the problems that people have, there are videos of different people explaining their solution or their approach. So if you arm yourself with a variety of answers or solutions for fearfulness, then when somebody says in a reading, I'm afraid, what do I do? Instead of only knowing one thing that you can do to become less fearful, you're going to be able to pick and choose, depending on the questioner and your intuition maybe, or the cards that you get. You're going to be able to tailor the answer to the person who's asking the question. So you're more effective as a reader that way. And also you don't worry or doubt that you don't know what you're doing. Let me just look here. Okay. The other thing, I wrote down tarot pinpoint. So the thing is, we have to trust the cards that we get. And so even though I say here and there, assume nothing, I think we have to assume that when we somebody asks a question, we pick a card, the card that we get is the one that we're supposed to talk about. It's correct in its own way. It may not be what we would have thought the answer was. It may not be what the person thinks the answer is going to be, but it's still the card that we get, and we're supposed to talk about it. And so with fearfulness, you may turn a card and that'll naturally lead you to talk about certain things or certain ways of dealing with fearfulness or procrastination or whatever the person's problem, so to speak, might be. But another card would make you think of something else. So maybe the Sun card comes up. So be childlike, be youthful, and explore, and don't assume that things are going to turn out badly, can be one way to deal with fear. Whereas with the Eight of Swords, maybe how do you deal with fear? With the Eight of Swords, be careful. It's important. Your instincts are good, they're correct, that if you're fearful, you've got good reason. So figure out what the reason is and understand that, and then move forward slowly. That's based on the picture on the Eight of Swords, as well as the picture on the Sun card. Okay, that was my introductory bit. So the question that Spooky Boo was asked was, will I get married? And so she did a yes-no spread. And the first card was the Three of Swords upright, which means yes. The second card was the Five of Cups upright, which also means yes, but two yeses. And the third card was the Ten of Pentacles upside down, which means no. So because the cards were not fabulous, it wasn't the Lovers and the Two of Cups, for instance, or the Six of Cups. She wanted to know whether it was a yes or a no, whether there would be a marriage but it wouldn't last, or whether the person would be disappointed, or whatever it happened to be. So I'd like to tell you what I would say or I think about this particular spread. And the first thing is, I think we have to trust that the cards that come up are the ones that we deal with. So in a yes-no spread, the middle card counts for two. If it's up, a card that's upright means yes, upside down means no. So if the one in the middle counts for two. So we've got yes, 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 no. So 75% of the answer is yes. So the person says, will I get married? They want to know yes or no. The answer is yes. Whether we, the reader, have doubts, but this goes back to the 20 fearful people in the room and me preferring Winona Ryder to Angelina Jolie. So because we've got the Three of Swords and the Five of Cups reversed, and the Five of Cups, which aren't particularly happy, we can't assume that the person is not going to be happy in the relationship. Because some people have different definitions of happiness, or what they expect, or what they're looking for. Because some people want to be miserable. They want to be unhappy. They get a certain amount of satisfaction out of being unhappy. So we can't look at a question about a marriage and see the Three of Swords and assume it's going to be bad. It's going to be, it could be what the person actually wants or what they're looking for. So in that sense, they're going to be happy with it. So rather than jump to conclusions, remember the question, will I get married? And then look at the card and what's going on. So maybe you look at the Three of Swords and the Five of Cups and the 10 reverse and say, yes, you'll get married, but here's a few things that you need to know first. Or if you go into the marriage with these ideas in mind, you're going to have a greater amount of success. We're not saying happiness, because happiness is subjective, and what makes me happy might not make you happy. But success, we can probably agree on what success is, or what it would be. So you can, if you don't like the look of the cards, you can preface the reading by talking about, yes, it's going to work. You're going to get married, but remember these particular things. So with the Three of Swords, it was upright. The Three of, it can be that this Three of Swords is describing the past relationships of the questioner or the person the question is going to marry. Right? There have been disappointments, there's been heartache, there's been hurt in the past. So that's what the tarot shows. What do we do with it? We say to the person, for instance, you're going to have to be patient and you're going to have to be understanding. So the person you're going to marry will have had challenges and problems and struggles. So if you love the person, you have to be kind and considerate and careful. And also, you can be the one who's been hurt. So you really need somebody who's going to be able to be nice to you when you're down, when you're unhappy about something. They're not going to, harass you. They're going to be considerate. So it's a bit like, it's not like you're going to marry somebody and suddenly you're living on a yacht in the south of France. It's not that kind of marriage. It's maybe we could say it's more normal and more real because you've got challenges and you've got heartache and you've got problems that have to be dealt with. So the question is, are you going to deal with them well? The card is upright, so I'd say yes, you will deal with them. But it's important to remember to be patient with the other person. I wrote down Casey because when we've got a situation like this, it's up to the reader, I think, to give the questioner some kind of philosophical understanding or some kind of rule to live by to make things easier or better or more manageable. So Casey I wrote down because he said quite famously, the faults we see in others are our own faults. So when you're annoyed with the other person, when the other person's annoyed with you, don't assume that it's actually about you, because it's more likely to be about them. So if they say, I hate you, what they mean is I hate me. I feel really bad at the moment, but instead of recognizing it's going on in me, I'm seeing it in you. It's called projection in modern psychological terms. So maybe you tell them, give them an example of projection or an example of the faults in other people are really in ourselves. And if we turn the focus on us at moments of extreme emotion or amplified emotion, then we come out of it better off instead of being hurt. So, Three of Swords, what can you say that will help the person make more sense of the difficulty that they're going through? Then we had the Five of Cups. Can't read my writing. Oh yeah. So in the I wrote down defense. Let me just look here. What's next? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So in the Five of Cups, you've got 3 cups that have been knocked over and 2 that remain. And interestingly enough, the first card was a 3 of Swords. 3. So it's as if the 3 swords have been transformed into 3 cups that have fallen over. So I was thinking about, with the 3 swords, you maybe feel the need to be defensive. You need to protect yourself. With the 3 cups knocked over and the liquid falling out, maybe you need an anesthetic, so you drink. Or you, instead of facing the situation, you take refuge in alcohol or drugs or pretending that things are different than the way they actually are. Whereas if you look at the picture on the Five of Cups, if the person turns 180 degrees, they'll see 2 cups are upright. So when things look bad with the marriage partner, understand that you need to turn 180 degrees and look at things differently. And that's easy to say, but maybe not so easy to do. So you need to make some suggestions on what or how the questioner can handle a situation like that. And at this point, I think this would be useful this is one of the reasons I like people to pick 2 numbers, between 1 and 9 and between 0 and 22, because that's beginning the reading with them and their contribution. So when we know the numbers that the person chose, you can then give them you can give them suggestions on how they can turn 180 degrees away from the fallen cups to see to the cups that remain. So if the person chooses to, maybe we say, when you're in a difficult situation and you need to go 180 degrees, solitary meditation. So if you don't know how to meditate, find out and take a class or take a course and practice, because meditation will mean the difference between being unhappy and being happy in the relationship, in the marriage. Or maybe if the person chooses the number 7, which can be travel. So what you do is, in order to change, to go 180 degrees, take a trip somewhere. If you're in England, go to the seaside for the day, or go to London for the day and be like a tourist and travel around and just get away from the situation. And then when you go back to it, you'll be refreshed and you'll be able to see it better or see it more clearly. So again, we're saying, or I'm saying, 180 degree turn. The question then is, how do you do it? And those are my examples, but you being you with all your experience and your common sense and your knowledge, you might come up with something very different, but it's going to be right for the person to hear. And last but not least, the 10 of Pentacles was upside down. And I wrote down old man, because the old man's sitting there, but he's upside down. So maybe what this 10 of Pentacles is telling you about will I get married is the old man can represent traditional ways of doing things. But it's not going to, the person you marry is not going to be traditional, or is not going to do the way things are, to do things the way things are normally done or have been done. So don't expect a conventional, typical, run-of-the-mill marriage. It's going, because there will be, it's not going to be like that. At the same time, the old man being upside, in the picture being upside down, maybe make sure that you don't just automatically reject stuff that you don't like. So think about what happens and what goes on and what you like and what you don't like, and work with that. And you've got a better chance of coming out the other end better informed. And I was thinking about so on YouTube, there's a fellow called Tom Ferry who sells real estate, and he's a very entertaining speaker. And he talks, so again, I'm thinking, I can tell the questioner, don't just react to what's going on, but be thoughtful about it. How do you do that? And so Tom Ferry, in one of his videos, talks about making 4 lists. So you get a piece of paper and you draw a cross on it. So in one part, you write down what you want to do more of, and then beside it, what you want to do less of. And then below it, you write what to start, and beside that, you write what to stop. So the person makes 4 lists, and it means that they're better informed about what they actually want and what they value and what they care about. So with this 10 of Pentacles upside down, because Pentacles is money, but especially values, you're giving the questioner an exercise that they can do or not that will put them in a better position to understand what they actually care about and what their values are, because they've got an idea of what to start and what to stop. And maybe you say to them, just put 3 items on each list, or put 5 if you're feeling confident. So at the end of, so you've got 3 things on your stop doing this list. So at the end of week 1, you stop doing 1. At the end of week 2, you stop the second thing. At the end of week 3, you stop the third thing. So at the end of a month, you're miles better because you've stopped doing 3 things that you don't want to do anymore. Okay, that was it. So if you have comments or questions or suggestions, let me know. Tomorrow, I'm going to do something else tomorrow that's more general about what tarot readings are, or what's actually going on when you're doing a tarot reading. So I'm kind of looking forward to talking about it, as you'll see tomorrow if you watch. Okay, thanks very much. We'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.